Happy May, the last day of May, and this is the end of season 5 of CapChat. So,
wow, really?
yeah,
5?
yeah, 5 seasons of CapChat. Yeah, 5 seasons, 100. This is our 102nd episode of CapChat Live. It's been fun. It's been fun. So we're heading into the summer. We're going to talk about summer vacation. We got another parent questions from the internet. We got Tyler Trends, and then we get some interesting news with international that we're gonna, I think, dive into and hopefully not anger people. We're gonna try to tiptoe around it because it's a very interesting.
We're not political guys.
We try not to be. So I mean, I did vote for Ross Perot.
Oh,
How's that for a shout out?
great
Everyone
choice.
listening is like, who is Ross Perot? They used to do that on SNL. Man, SNL just ripped him a new one. That was great. And everyone's going, what's SNL?
Yeah, I don't know. Your audience would surprise you. I think they would get your joke.
I think so. SNL's been big this year, but it's interesting. There was a kid this past weekend with Junior Select, and her nickname was JoJo. What movie pops in your head of JoJo?
Chris Farley saying
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yes.
And
I don't even know what it's from. Tommy Boy, maybe?
yeah, JoJo the idiot circus boy. He's like, I get all, and I'm like, JoJo the idiot circus boy, and
you couldn't help but get that out of you.
I
Your head every time you said JoJo.
And Molly, the assistant coach, she's 24 and had no clue. Like, she knew who Chris Farley is, but I was like,
kids don't watch movies anymore either. So like,
no,
you have
I
to reference a YouTube reel or a meme or a TikTok phrase. They don't quote movies like the old guys.
Well, she didn't even know it, and I was like, you got to watch, because she has a good sense of humor. I was like, you got to go watch Tommy Boy. Like, it's to me the top. It's my top 5.
Focus for more than 40 seconds on something, then you should watch this movie.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, it's such a good. Anyway, we got off top. But so this is end of season 5. We head into summer, and this is CapChat Live. You're listening to CapChat, the #1 soccer recruitment podcast in the United States. This is CapChat. I think we're all scatterbrained, Tyler. So where do you want to start? We can do Tyler Trends. We can start with the parent question from the internet. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, let's go right into the trends.
I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack, and my wolf pack grew by one.
It's time for Tyler's Trends.
Other than Yahtzee.
You beat me too. I couldn't even do my own joke. Dang it. That's when I know I've lost a step, when I lose my own dang joke. Tyler's Trends.
Yeah, this will lead us into kind of maybe what we're going to talk about a little bit later in the program. And the trend right now is many. The big question was, are these Division I Power 4 colleges going to go ahead and take 28 scholarships and make them all full? And so
because of the NIL lawsuit and everything.
Yep, they had the ability to do that if they wanted to. The roster sizes would be cut to 28, but would all 28 be full? And so a trend that happened in the last week was a lot of these schools publicly announced that yes, they're going to do that. And so once again, not all of them have announced it yet. Maybe some won't. I don't know if that's, in a public relations standpoint, I think you should, or you wait, and if someone else does announce it, right, then you announce it. And so you don't want to get behind anything in that sense either when it comes to recruitment and what you're able to offer. I don't see any reason why.
Do you think schools were sitting around going, oh, I hope they don't do it. I hope they don't do it. Oh, they did it. We got to offer it.
Yeah. Well, you mean like, oh God, are they going to give 28 full rides to women's soccer? Right? Are they going to give 28 full rides to women's soccer? Like, do we?
And if you're in that conference, you have to do it.
Once one team does it, yeah. And so the first college willing to spend money probably starts the domino effect for your conference. And so yeah, that's been an interesting trend that we've been watching to see, who's offering. And so I'm not going to give you like the list of colleges or anything like that. You can probably find that on your own. But that is a trend. That is something that we were wondering about when you're going to go through this whole roster cut, roster change, scholarship change. And this once again, people that they can still make money on top of this, right? You still have the NILs, you still have those things that you can get outside of the full scholarship, and so there is more money making opportunities at that level. Well, really, that's available to all levels with the NIL. But yeah, that's something that we've been tracking, and I found interesting enough to share for today. And that's a nice trend in the Division I world.
And do you think though? So
or a sad trend, depending on what you feel the state of college athletics is going to.
Well, I think it is what it is, but I think that so the question for you, is it safe to say that most Power 4 conferences are going to be offering 28 full rides?
I have to think yes.
Okay. And then on top of that, though, so do you think this hurts or helps competition to be able to get into Division I? Because now there's only 28 spots and you have 28 full rides, and that's a lot of money to give out. I mean, they went from 11.5 full rides, and now that they've over doubled it, and now you're sitting at 28. So I would imagine those spots are going to be even harder to come by, because if they're bringing in 28 kids, it's got to be the best 28 kids. Would be my assumption.
I think this is a big challenge. Yeah, this makes it really hard. You actually have a bit more pressure on you probably as a coach, and from a coach's perspective, you have a bit more pressure on you not to miss. I could go get whatever 15, 16 kids, spread out the scholarships close to full tuition as I can, and then get some walk-ons and things like that. I don't have a lot of pressure to. This just adds more pressure, I think, to not miss on somebody. And so,
yeah,
you think it is a bit more challenging. Well, definitely more challenging for any player, high school age, to find their way onto that roster. You can't say like, well, I'm willing to walk on, and do that for you. I think so. Understand like it is more challenging. And I think that's something that we're trying to help our players navigate. Is that your competition level is extremely high and extremely tight for you to be able to break into those teams.
And I think even more so, and we've always said that even before all this NIL stuff and this lawsuit, that you really need to have, you need to approach multiple divisions. And I think it's even more important because, of those 28, you got to think these next couple of years, a lot. Schools were cutting players that were already on the roster, And I remember being in Visit Raleigh when I was walking around with the Division I coach, and we were looking at players, and he's like, "We're sitting at 28 now." So I know I have to think any player that is better. I now have to think, who am I cutting? Like, it's not just a roster. Like, now there's actual players that are now losing their spot because he said, "I desperately need a center back." And if I see a center back, my mind now goes to, okay, who on my current team, like Susie or Julie, like they're cut. And that's a tough spot to be in, because before you just add them, like, okay, we'll just add them in the thing. Now you're setting at 42 instead of, but it's a real.
And you're only really looking at, Josh, I don't know the exact number for women's soccer in that sport or men's, but you're in about 60 schools.
Yeah, that's it.
I think I think football has like 68 in the Power 4, 68 teams. And I don't know if they all have soccer, right? So that's just not a lot of teams.
No, a lot
of teams.
How many did you say?
68 football teams I know are in the Power 4, and I don't know if they all have men's.
So let's just say if there's 60.
It's 60.
60 times 28. That's 1,600 spots. And that's
over 4 years per spot.
So and I would say, do you think it's safe to say 80% of those are probably coming back? Like,
yeah. So going to the other Power 4.
Yeah.
if they're transferring, right?
So you have 1,000 spots maybe that will be open for recruitment max. But like you said, they made the transfer portal is real. So now they're going to the transfer portal. So the open spots are, and I don't want to scare people, but the open spots for these Power 4 schools that everyone dreams of is less of a reality.
Correct. 1,600 is over 4 classes, maybe 5 classes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Correct.
If we divide that down, you're looking at 400 incoming spots, new spots that would be available if that many people graduate that year. 400 is not a lot.
No, not a lot at all. I mean, so it's interesting times, and it keeps changing. I know we can talk that for hours and hours. So what I mean, the end result here is, I think, what's your recommendation here? I mean, I know that's a trend of people offering 24 rides. So what's the takeaway for players here on this, and how does it affect them? And what do you think? What's your advice to them?
I mean, my advice always is set your expectations high, and go for it and challenge yourself. And so I think that's important. But then, be realistic. And here's my thing: like, don't quit the sport because you don't get one of those 400 spots.
Yeah.
Like, there's a good positive experience spot for you. There's good scholarship money out there for everybody. Being able to find that and go for that, and the right fit is possible.
I like it. And there's our transition.
You're gonna sad trumpet me. Sure.
All right, Tyler's Trends. We love it. Always coming in hot. We're gonna do. My favorite is the parent questions from internet, and because I'm addicted to this website. But so we got parent questions from the.
Warning: some viewers may find the following footage deeply disturbing.
CapChat Live presents Parent Questions from the Internet.
Offside. All right, so this is from the Youth Soccer Parent Life. It's anonymous, but should it be best practice that clubs say who's going to be the coach for the next season? And should they go out by when the player invites go out? Additionally, should they disclose if the team coach is unknown or unfilled at the time? So what would your decision criteria be if you're accepting B versus A? So in reality, they're asking is, should the coaches be announced prior to tryouts of who you're going to play for? That's a club question. I know not a recruitment question, but we are in the middle of tryout season. So Tyler, I'll let you. I know you got a club, and we both work in club as well. So what's your thought on this?
I mean, I think the coach. I mean, at tryouts would be my response. The coach should be running the identification session or that tryout session.
Okay.
Maybe I'm old school in thinking that, but I do think that should be something that's pointed out. And there's a lot of different ways that clubs approach coaches and age groups, right? So you may already know the answer based off of what if it's 7v7 versus 9v9 versus 11v11, right? So basically, I'd love to hear Josh's answer to this as well. He's more in the club scene, maybe a little bit more experienced than me there. So, but some clubs do, like, okay, Josh will be the 7v7 coach. Tyler will be the 9v9 coach. Steve is the 11v11 coach. So you would get a group for 2 years and then move them on. Other teams, I would probably say smaller clubs, are like, okay, Josh is the 2016 boys coach. And then Josh just always has that team until they cycle out, and then maybe Josh gets a new team. So there are two different ways to approach it, and each club is different. But I do think it should be, it's going to make a kid's decision a little bit easier or harder on if they want to join that team or that club, based off if they like Josh as a coach and he's coaching, they may be more likely to try out or less likely to try out.
Yeah, very true. I think this is a tough question in the club world, is because you're right. There are more people. We've hired a new coach. His name is Mark, brilliant with the 9v9 age, and that's the area he wants to focus in. And I'm a fan of you're kind of with a team for a couple years, then you move on, and then move up. Like you said, I'm really good 9v9. I'm good at 11v11. So I like that you constantly get a new voice. And ultimately, if you trust the club to be able to develop coaches, like all the coaches should have the same philosophy, and it shouldn't necessarily matter. Now, that's not the reality of it, though.
I do agree with that too.
And it gets scary. Like if I see these teams, and it's ABC Soccer Club dash Tomlinson 2010. Well, it's not Tomlinson's team. Like you're
Right.
part of a club, and the club, your top team could be called whatever. I know there's this weird thing everyone calls their top team's academy, which is just a bunch of baloney. But you have your top team. For us, we use blue Nero, we use colors. And you should like the club. You should be able to trust the club that they're going to put coaches in the right spot. Now that doesn't always happen. And so what, my thought is on this is there should be some sort of, you should know roughly who the coaches are. Like if you have 2 teams in 9v9, I think you should know, but you may not know who's coaching that top team yet.
Could be one or the other. This
yeah.
could be that person, could be an assistant.
Correct. I think that's
we agree on that there should be direction at I said at least at tryouts, right? Pre-tryouts, that'd be great, but at tryouts, that's hopefully when you meet the coach.
Yep. But I also think, kids make the decisions on. I also disagree with making the whole decision based on a coach. I think it gets back in this mindset of you don't like your coach, you just leave. But sometimes that's the reality.
There's 2 things there. One, the coach is the scapegoat.
Yeah.
If I'm not getting the playing time I feel I deserve, or I feel like I'm not getting better, it's not, and maybe I don't even go to every practice. It's not my fault, right? So as a coach, I understand that. I'm going to be the scapegoat sometimes, right? And that's okay. If that's the reason you feel you need to give to leave the club or switch teams, that falls on the coach. That's part of coaching. It sucks, but it's part of coaching. It's our burden as a coach that we have to have sometimes. I'm not saying coaches don't let players down and coaches don't always play the right kids. That happens, of course. But it's also the scapegoat sometimes.
Yeah, very much so.
I think in our today's day and age, not to deter too much, but this is the club path, right? I think too much kids choose clubs based off where their friends go.
Yes, which is 100%.
Rather than like pick the best coach for your development, or it would. Hey, I'm not saying either one is wrong, but I have my beliefs. I'm going to try to pick the best club with the best coaches where I get the best development. And then my kid's just going to have to meet new people if that's the case. And that makes them, grow as a person.
Right. I think
that's my thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, I'm in Kansas City. I know you're in a little smaller markets. Our kids come to pre-tryout camps have 10 different options. And you're right. There's this push now. They're making decisions on platforms, which actually will be the next thing. But I firmly believe if it's a good club, and not all clubs are straight, if it's a good club, and this is the line that I've heard, is that if you take all the shirts off and all the gear and you're wearing all white, non-logo, you should be able to walk up and recognize that this is a club, not a collection of teams.
Yeah.
And every club should have the same feel. Our club has coaching standards. Now, is Mark going to have a different approach than I will? Yes, but at the end of the day, the coaching standard is the same. The ball moves 75% of the time, and this remains the same. Mark may have a tad different way of saying it, but that's good for that kid to hear a different voice. And I think you should, and now here's the should, you should be able to trust your club that they're going to put the right people in place. Because if you make that decision solely based on a coach, I'm only going where my coach goes. What happens if that coach, because most coaches in youth sports have a normal daytime job. And what if they get promoted and now they can't coach that team anymore? And you self-implode?
So the whole club folds.
Well, correct. Yeah.
Right. You have to be self-sustainable. Yeah.
The ultimate college soccer recruitment roadmap. A step-by-step guide through the recruitment process. Strategic recruitment planning. Take every month, every year, a step-by-step guide through the recruitment process. You can purchase the book at rushcollege.com/book. That is rushcollege.com/book. This will be the most helpful book you have read for the recruitment process. It is a must read if you want to play collegiate soccer. And you can find the book at rushcollege.com/book. Purchase now today for your exclusive copy.
Yeah, so that's my thought. So I guess in the older, should they disclose it? I think they should by the time tryouts come along, because you do want to be able to get a feel for that coach. But also hopefully you trust the club to not put an awful coach in that situation. All right, last one here, and then we'll move on, because I love these. This is a good one, and this has been a massive topic, and I know so seeking advice. This is from anonymous member. 3 club options for U13, soon to be U14. Stay with current ECNL RL team, which is a top team. Travels a little over an hour away. Club 2, larger ECNL club, would play RL there as well, 45 minutes away for practice. Former club hates the previous culture, coaching, and not as many friendships on this team, but a very good chance to play NL through the following years. They have a very late birthday, but they hate the culture. Club 3, local team, will play USYS National League, can play middle school, good culture, and can do more supplemental training. The first club, by the way, I meant to say, the current is they play very direct kick and does not suit my player's skill set, and they have stagnated as a team and begin to lose a lot of games in a row. So stay with your current RL team, but you don't like the way they play. You can go to NL club that you would play, but could play NL, could move up. But they hate the culture and the coaching, not as many friendships, but they could play NL. And then local team plays USYS National League, could play middle school, good culture, and can do more supplemental training. Oof. Dive into that, chew that one off.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first, my initial thought is that gender doesn't matter here. You should probably just go with the USYS, take the travel out of it, enjoy it. It's still a good, organized league. It does have a platform. And you had really nothing bad to say about it. So I'm not sure, why you're driving an hour for things that your kid may not enjoy and may not get developed properly. So with genders aside, that's, I think, an easy answer for me. I mean, if it's a girl player and there's the chance to make the ECNL roster on choice B, that could pull my strings a little bit. If it's a boys player, no, then the answer is even easier.
But even though we get a comment here from Speed Nuts. First answer is always the club that won't make your child end up hating the game. Cardinalson for sure. I like that. That won't make you hate the game.
Yeah.
So, because your thought, Tyler, is if you got a chance to play NL, which for a girl we know is the top platform, but you hate the environment. And I'm with Speed Nuts on this one. If you hate the environment, but it's the top league, do you end up hating the game? Because I think that's the number one way we lose players. In fact, we know it is. It's not that we lose them to competition. We lose them because they just get burnt out and they hate the game. And U13, what's U13? How old are they? 12s? 12, 13-year-olds?
Yep.
Like, how important is NL at 12?
9v9, that's like first year of 11v11.
Yeah. How important is that? So you're in U12. You're 6th and 7th grade.
Yeah, the game's changing, so there's going to be more space. I think in a tactical context, you probably would be best served staying local and enjoying it, and then getting used to the new field size, the new play. Everything is going to be a little different.
Yeah, because and that, what would she say, an hour drive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hour drive and then 45-minute drive were the other two, and the third one was.
So you're 2 hours in the car. Like, that's insane to me for a 7th and 8th grader. I get it when you start hitting your sophomore, junior. I get that, because that becomes more important. But as a 7th and 8th grader, again, we've said this numerous times, is that you get so caught up on a platform, and I don't know. And Tyler, I know we talked offline about this, about your club identity shouldn't be based on a platform, and it shouldn't be. It needs to be based on what your club culture is, and the platform is a supplemental to it. But everyone's making decisions on this platform, and to me, this is previous club coaching, not as many friendships on the team, but has a good chance to play NL. But they hate the culture. Like to me, that's your answer. You hate the culture, but you could play NL and you're going to be an eighth grader. Yeah, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to hate the game.
And my guess is the culture is cutthroat. It's competitive, because there's that opportunity for the NL. And so that's not for everybody, especially younger kids sometimes.
Yeah, but can you be cutthroat and still and have a positive environment? Like that's the thing.
No.
You don't think you can? Like Tyler, you have to be cutthroat at college because not everyone makes your travel roster. But I think you still have a very positive environment.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever say that we were cutthroat.
But you have to be cutthroat. But I mean, how is it? I mean, no offense, how is it not cutthroat? Because either you make the travel roster, or you don't. That's cutthroat.
Yeah, I would consider the way that we handle it open and honest.
Yeah,
everybody knows where they stand all the time and where they need to go, and it's not like we care more about this kid because they're playing and this kid because they're not playing. That would be more of your cutthroat environment, right? We're only going to care about this team. We'll throw you on the RL team, but we don't like to give the same resources, the same attention, the same love. So we'll move you down to NPL level because we don't really care about them. So then people forget about them. That's more cutthroat, right?
Okay,
let's
so
focus all our time and attention on the best.
We're looking at different. Definitely.
That's how I would describe that word. That's why I use that word. I think that's a very negative word.
No, I think you're right. Here you go. Okay. What does it mean to be cutthroat? You describe a situation as cutthroat. You mean that the people or companies involved all want success and do not care if they harm each other in getting there. Got it. Okay.
That's how I describe it. Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
This kid doesn't want the cutthroat environment. They don't want either on the good team we care about you or we don't care about you, and that's how we address everything.
So
a lot of club soccer teams.
You can be a competitive environment
and still treat everybody respectfully.
Got it.
Hey, we know you're not on the ECNL team right now, and you're on the RL team, but here's what you have to do to make that team, and we want to keep you developing, and hopefully our goal is to get you there and support everybody. That's how all the players get better, right? But our platforms are creating these cutthroat environments.
Yeah.
And your definition exactly describes the problem, is that we're valuing success over development and happiness of some kids, experience. And that's not what my team isn't the richest team, right, in college, but we do have a good culture, right? And we still win games. It's amazing, that you can do both of those things. But it's possible, very possible.
I like that. That's
Thanks for looking that up. I think that gave some validity to what we're talking about here, what this parent was looking for.
Yeah, that's a different environment for cutthroat. So, and we'll post this. So look at that. Adjective. If you describe a situation as cutthroat, you mean that the people or companies involved all want success and do not care if they harm each other. So what is it called if everyone wants success, but everyone's working together? I guess is that a competitive environment?
I mean, for our sport, I think it is. And that's what you said. Aren't you cutthroat? And I'm like, well, no, I would like to think that I'm open and honest with where everybody stands. It's not about, hey, everybody, I only care about the all conference player, because I could keep going.
No, it makes sense.
You only care about certain players, even on the ECNL team in a cutthroat group, because they're going to be your power four and everyone else we don't care about.
And you see a lot of clubs doing that.
Yeah,
all my focus on our top platform. Everyone else is just writing a check for us, and which is a really tough environment to be in. I see that. Okay. Well, we learned something new. Learn what cutthroat is, and hopefully parents question from the internet that is the answer. We transition. Next topic here is the international. So you can dive into this. I know you're in the middle of it. It's affecting you.
It is. We had this talk. So right now, the State Department ordered embassies to pause student visa appointments. Okay, so this applies to new international soccer players that would be coming to the United States to play this fall. And so ultimately, if you already had a student visa appointment or your student visa already, it doesn't affect you. Lucky you.
Well, and let's pause for a second, because in order to come to play in the United States, you have to get a student visa.
Yes.
And you go to the embassy. Let's say you're coming from England, and you go to the American embassy in England, and you apply to get that student visa.
You have to have an interview. Yep, and they give you your student visa.
Without that, okay, so I think that helps to explain what a student visa is.
Yep, and so everyone needs it to come. And once again, we're looking at it from a soccer perspective to come play soccer in the United States. And so there is a pause right now across the world on these student visa appointments being scheduled. And the State Department's reasoning was they're moving to expand their background checks and their securities and
it mentioned social media checks as well.
Yeah, the main focus is social media checks, and so that's been a big a point of attention for them in this process. So what does that mean? And what we're trying to figure out at the college soccer landscape is, are there going to be a bunch of schools that are maybe relying on 12, 15 big international classes coming in to play soccer this fall, and then these kids don't come, they can't make it, they don't have their visas, and then what happens then? Are we predicting a big fallout for roster spots? Are they going to try to reach out to more American kids here last second and try to get them to switch rosters? And then what's our advice, at Cap for those kids that might get calls all of a sudden like, hey, we know we weren't recruiting you before because we were going after this kid in Brazil, but they didn't have their visa appointment. Now we want you to come play for us. And how does a kid handle that? So, I think that I don't know the effects quite yet. I don't know if this will open back up again, but it definitely is quite interesting. I think this could hurt a lot of small schools in America that rely on new international students each year. And so that could affect some schedules or some soccer coming into the college soccer season for the fall.
And I think the knee-jerk reaction sometimes, I'm not saying we agree or disagree with anything, so everyone pause, and I don't want anyone commenting that what side we lean to. But I think there is this knee-jerk reaction from parents sometimes, because if you have a team that's a lot of internationals, they get mad. Like, my kid never has a chance at internationals. And I think there's this it should be American. They're state-funded schools. And so there is that logic. But like you said, though, and I do want to speak from the collegiate side. The reason we have internationals sometimes is, and I know this sounds awful, but they can pay full price. And really, on these smaller private schools that sometimes are struggling to keep their doors open, and you have an international student that will pay $30,000 full tuition, or you have a domestic player that you have to give them a $15,000 scholarship, the business decision is to go with an international player. I'm not saying that's the right decision, but that is certainly the business decision. And I think like you said, Tyler, I think this could very much harm these smaller private schools, because there's a lot of private schools across the world across the United States that are struggling to keep the doors open right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't have, like, how does this affect you? If you don't mind me asking, I don't know if you're allowed to say, like, no, you have a couple international players coming in for this fall, right?
Yeah. So we have 3 currently. And Canada is a little different sometimes. And so one of them is Canadian, but one of them was from England. Her appointment was already set.
Okay, so she's good.
Doesn't affect. But then we have one from the Netherlands. Appointment is not set. And then we're still in the process. The school has to provide the I-20 to the students, so then they can go to get their visa. And so she's in the process of getting her I-20 from the school. So, yeah, I mean, but our men's side is, that's obviously more of the factor, right? Not exactly on the women's side, where a lot of the international players are coming in for soccer at the college level in the United States. Like, our men's team has, I think, between 15 and 18 international players coming in the fall.
So what's the conversation happening with those players?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Our admissions staff at our school is reaching out to them individually to see if they've already set up their appointments or not. And like calculating, okay, we could potentially lose 20 students, right?
Wow.
And
That's a massive hit to a school, especially when you look at the size of Culver. I don't know what your enrollment is, 1,000 to 1,200. That's a massive hit. And as you plan your budget, that's a big hit. I mean, that's a classroom that's a teacher that probably
that's a whole classroom. Yep.
A teacher just got laid off. So are you guys anticipating, and I don't know if you know this, but maybe a question for admissions, are you anticipating that it opens back up, or are you guys moving forward? Let's say your kid from the Netherlands, do you now have to assume that she's not going to make it?
Yeah, so we had and there's different expert opinions. Now we work with First Point, and they put out a great article on this, and they're being positive that the article did say this is temporary, right, and may not last forever, but there's no timeline to it. When we contacted our recruitment experts that we work with, our consultants, they were pretty pessimistic. They were like, you guys need to plan like you're going to lose a bunch of students, and just be prepared for that if they can't get these. So that's why, if we could salvage it if some of the kids have appointments already, because this is May, but there's a lot of work to go into an international student coming to the United States. It's not as easy as people might think it is.
And I'll share, and we'll share this in the notes here of First Point, but I do, that's a good shout on the First Point blog, and we share their blogs as well. But they put this out. So the temporary pause on F1 visas. So here are the facts. This pause only affects the scheduling of new student visas.
So returning, if you have international players on your roster now and they're returning, you're okay. Those students are okay. Sorry.
This pause applies globally. Temporary pause. We're monitoring it from the State Department. What you do now, if you have a scheduled voicemail, if you have one, for the love of Pete, attend it.
Don't miss it.
Yeah. So if you haven't booked your interview yet, submit your DS-160 application, gather all the documents, be mindful of your online social media. This is a big one here. Be mindful.
That's what they're monitoring a little tighter now. That's the big focus of this new change.
Wow. Well, and the funny thing is, and I hate to say the funny thing is we've been saying for years that your social media matters. Yep. And it was really more of a domestic thing. It matters to you to get scholarships, but now it's like, it matters to come to the United States.
You put some,
I mean, and so, we'll share this blog on Cap Rush College as well, and you can go to First Point. They're a good partner, international partner of theirs. Yeah, we're going to monitor it. We may have
every week. There's a change for soccer.
Oh my goodness!
This was a kind of a weird one that would affect us, but it would nonetheless.
You're right, and I think, Tyler, we talked offline. It's like, the soccer landscape's changing fast. Like, it's like technology is changing constantly. Like,
it's hard to keep up.
We used to be able to take, and when we first started in season 1, in between where they took the summer break, when we came back, we were like scrounging for topics. And now we may have to come back in the summer and just do an update, because there's so many and this change here, never would have seen this coming. Never would have thought that they put a halt on visas, and that's just one change happening. Like, there's so many changes happening. It's like, holy crap. And there's 4 of us working on staff, and you sent me to this first, like we're all trying to monitor everything that's changing. Man, I mean, there's the shameless plug for Rush, because you got 4 people working full time with these situations and trying to help kids the best we can. And that's crazy.
It's what we do.
It is what we do. So we'll talk. So there's that. Let's do our little transition here. So summer plans, Tyler. So we're going into the summer. We normally take a fun hiatus, and we'll come back on season 6. What are your plans for the summer?
I'll tell you. Well, first of all, obviously.
Yeah, I know you're going to tell me, because I just asked.
Yeah, Rush Summit.
Rush Summit, baby. Rush Fest, Rush Summit, 20th anniversary of Summit. We have Gucci Anyawe coming there. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for that for sure. So that's coming up. I know you have some really cool ID camps throughout the whole country.
That stuff coming up.
Northwest and Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
You can find all that on rushcollege.com. I think those are going to be really exciting. So we're pumped about that. Josh knows. Josh and I went to the Sphere I think, since last
Yeah.
time we did well, maybe we've done a cap chat since then, but we've been to the Sphere in Las Vegas. It's awesome. We loved it. And so I'm going to go back.
And you're
I
seeing
had so
Kenny
much
Chesney.
fun.
Kenny Chesney,
Yeah,
right?
so
Yeah.
much fun with Josh that I was like, I have to do this with someone cooler. So I'm going to take my wife to Kenny Chesney. And so, yeah, that's kind of like one of our bucket list things. Oh, and I did just go to the Pacers playoff game.
Yeah. You and Desi set up there and changed the light
Took
bulb.
my 10-year-old to her first Pacers game.
Did she like it, by the way, or did she care?
Oh, she loved it.
Yeah, she loved it. Okay.
It was a really cool experience. We had a great time. They won. We got to win one more still. I'm a Pacers fan.
Yeah.
People feel bad for me. And
How did you become a Pacers fan, by the way? Because I know
they're the closest NBA team, really. That's not Chicago.
right.
I don't like Chicago school teams because I grew up a Cardinals fan.
I know. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I never asked that.
Pacers are next.
How did you become a Vikings fan then?
Same thing, really. I don't know. The Colts were all over the place back when we were growing up. Remember, they really weren't the Colts. So
You're not a Colts fan. You're a Vikings fan.
exactly.
What's that have to do with the Colts?
So the next closest team, really.
Oh, I thought you just stroked out.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
And the same thing, the Cardinals were there in St. Louis, but then they left and went to Arizona, and then the Rams weren't there. But good thing I didn't hop on that wagon because they left again.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I was always kind of curious about that. So what else you guys? You guys doing family vacation? I know you Rush Summit. You guys going to family vacation?
I don't think so.
Nice.
We don't have anything like really huge planned. But we did Disney this year. So
Yeah, that's right. We talked about Yeah. You guys have been doing.
What about the Tylers?
Well, I go to Alaska next week for Alaska Airlines Cup with Alaska Rush, and then the ID camp. There's a lot of coaches going to that ID camp actually. I mean, Alaska doesn't have an abundance of colleges, so they're flying all these coaches in, and then Rush Fest, which we host, and that's going to be awesome. The Midwest ID camp, Northwest ID camp. Northwest ID camp, man, is up in Hillsboro. We're looking around at 400 players right now.
Wow.
Midwest is going to be over 250 players.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah, and it's such a cool opportunity, I think, and really enjoying it. And we're adding one in Louisiana in January for the South. And yeah,
okay, that'll be good.
So those take a lot of time, but I mean, so and that's really what we're doing. Emily's doing summer school, which it's hard, and the boys we got them electric bikes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very.
You know what we call those in Quincy? Well, because the kids are, they're like the last to use them. But my buddy coined this term. I can't call it mine, but he calls them DUI sickles.
There you go.
Because, who's going to ride them? Well, I know. He doesn't know like the rules of the road yet.
No, exactly.
He's going 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. I know I'm nervous, but it gets them to and from because they're old. I mean, they're old enough now that we have the aquatic center that's just across the street, and they can go to a friend's house. Jackson's starting 2 days a week. He's getting high school soccer starts next week for him I mean, so he can get himself there. And so yeah, I'm nervous, but it's a needed step for them to be able to have a little more freedom. I give it a week before they get they wreck it. They do have to wear a helmet, everyone. So don't.
At least you're honest about it.
I'm nervous about it. No, I've talked to them. When they ride it, they're supposed to come in. Hopefully before I go to Alaska. So it's like, I'm going to follow you and watch you ride this to make sure you can. Yeah. They have a blinker and it's.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. But yeah, that's our stuff. And then Jackson's going to Rush Fest with me, and he's roughing, and Emily's doing summer school, and it's crazy. And then, man, before you know it, we start fall season again.
Yep. Let's not talk about that. Yeah,
no. So, but that's the summer, man. So a lot of good stuff happening. But on that, yeah, I think that's what we got, man. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. But for all of us at CapChat, thanks for listening. Thanks for those who hopped on live and asked a couple of questions. We always appreciate you listening to us and chatting with us. Enjoy your summer. Thanks for 5 great seasons so far. We'll see you back in 6. unless something big comes up. So we'll pop in and do just like a CapChat update and see what happens there. So, Tyler, have fun, and we'll talk to you guys.